In the shadows of Chicago's streets, another body drops, and this time, it drags down one of the most feared names in drill. Lil Durk, the global superstar and undisputed king of OTF, now sits in federal custody facing life in prison. But the real earthquake came when a man he once called brother, a loyal soldier fresh out of 12 years in prison, turned into his most dangerous enemy. Jam, the same man Durk allegedly housed, fed, and put on, didn't just cooperate. He became the #2 snitch in a sprawling federal RICO case built on murder for hire, street executions, and betrayal at the highest level. How does a man go from writing for Durk to handing the feds everything? Why did the authorities grab Jam not for the Quando Rondo hit, but for a completely separate murder? What exactly did Lil Ted reveal before he was silenced forever? And how deep does the betrayal go inside OTF? Family members are mourning, streets are watching, and an empire built on loyalty is crumbling in real time. To understand how we got here, we have to go back to the moment Jam got caught. In the summer of 2026, the king of Chicago drill sits in a cold federal cell, his empire under siege. Lil Durk, the Grammy-winning artist who turned the pain of the streets into platinum success, is now facing a superseding federal indictment that could send him to prison for the rest of his life. What began as a single murder-for-hire charge connected to the 2022 killing of Quando Rondo's cousin Lil Pab has evolved into something far more dangerous, a sprawling racketeering case accusing Durk of running only the family as a violent criminal enterprise. But the story that has the entire hip-hop world glued to their phones isn't just about Durk's arrest. It's about the man many believe quietly became the government's most lethal weapon against him, OTF Jam. Casey Hester, known as Jam, was once one of Durk's most trusted soldiers. A man Durk allegedly helped bring home after 12 long years in prison. A man who received support, money, and a seat at the table. Now, according to multiple credible street insiders, that same man stands accused of turning against everything OTF represented. Street sources and respected hip-hop news channels like Trenches News and Big Mike have painted a devastating picture. Jam didn't just cooperate. He became the #2 cooperator in one of the biggest federal cases against a major rap artist in recent memory. The timing could not be more explosive. As Durk's trial date approaches, the details leaking from the streets suggest Jam was arrested not for the high-profile Los Angeles gas station shooting, but for an entirely separate murder in Chicago. Federal agents allegedly used that case as leverage, offering him a path to freedom in exchange for testimony that could bury his former brother. This isn't just another rap beef or diss track drama. This is the ultimate betrayal, a story of loyalty tested by the crushing weight of federal pressure, life sentences, and the harsh reality of street codes versus self-preservation. For millions of fans who grew up on Durk's music, songs about pain, loss, survival, and sticking together, watching the foundation of only the family crumble feels deeply personal. Why does this story matter so much right now? Because Lil Durk represents more than just hits and jewelry. He became the voice for an entire generation coming out of Chicago's most violent neighborhoods. From Like That to Three-Headed Goat, his music carried the weight of real-life trauma. He turned grief into global success while still carrying the burdens of the streets. When King Von was murdered in 2020, Durk's pain was broadcast to the world. Many believed the OTF bond was unbreakable. Jam's alleged flip has shattered that illusion. The streets are divided like never before. Some defend Jam, saying he had no choice when facing life in prison. Others call him a rat who bit the hand that fed him. Death threats, heated debates on social media, and old footage of Jam and Durk together are being dissected daily. Hip-hop forums, YouTube channels, and comment sections are flooded with one recurring question. How could someone Durk helped rebuild turn around and help the feds build a RICO case against him? Federal prosecutors have remained tight-lipped, but the superseding indictment paints a chilling picture. They allege only the family operated like a modern-day mafia, coordinating violence across state lines, using music as both motivation and cover, and eliminating threats with cold precision. Durk, once praised for elevating his circle, is now accused of directing it all. Jam's disappearance from public view after his arrest only fueled the fire. When he briefly resurfaced under what appeared to be house arrest conditions, the internet exploded. Old allies turned silent. Former friends posted cryptic messages. The code of silence that once protected OTF was breaking in real time. This case hits different because it exposes the uncomfortable truth about street life and the rap game. No matter how much money, fame, or success you achieve, the past never really lets go. Federal investigators don't care about record sales or streaming numbers. They follow the blood trail. And in this instance, the trail allegedly led straight through someone Durk once called family. The emotional weight on the community is heavy. Families who lost loved ones in the cycle of violence watch closely, hoping for justice. Young fans who looked up to Durk as a symbol of resilience are forced to confront the darker side of the culture they love. Even rival factions in Chicago have mixed reactions. Some celebrate the potential fall of OTF, while others recognize that when one major figure falls this way, it sends shockwaves through the entire ecosystem. As the federal case builds momentum, questions continue to mount. What exactly did Jam tell the authorities? How much insider knowledge did he possess about the inner workings of OTF? Was the separate murder charge the only leverage used, or were there years of recorded conversations and evidence collected while Jam allegedly worked behind the scenes? The hip-hop community has seen snitching before, but rarely at this level involving an artist of Durk's stature. The stakes are enormous. A conviction could not only end Durk's career, but potentially reshape how the industry views street-rooted artists moving forward. Right now, in courtrooms and on the streets, the story is still unfolding. Durk maintains his innocence through his legal team. His supporters point to the long history of overzealous federal prosecutions against black entertainers from the hood. Jam, meanwhile, remains a ghost, a man caught between his past sins and a deal that may have saved his future at the cost of his soul. To understand the fracture inside only the family, we must travel back to the concrete blocks and abandoned lots of Chicago's South Side, a place where survival often demanded unbreakable bonds, and those bonds were frequently paid for in blood. Casey Hester entered the world long before the fame, the chains, and the chart-topping anthems. Born and raised in the same violent corridors that produced Lil Durk, Jam, as he would later be known, grew up in an environment where everyday choices carried life-or-death consequences. In 2010, still a teenager, he became entangled in a shooting that left a victim wounded. The courts showed little mercy. Convicted of attempted murder, Jam was sentenced to 12 years in prison. While he disappeared into the Illinois Department of Corrections, a younger Durk was still fighting to escape the same streets, releasing early mixtapes that captured the raw desperation of drill's first wave. Those 12 years changed Jam. Prison hardened him, tested his loyalty, and forced him to navigate a world where weakness could be fatal. Outside, Lil Durk's star was rising. By 2015, Durk had founded Only the Family, OTF, a collective that started as a tight-knit group of friends and street affiliates but evolved into a powerful brand blending music, street credibility, and protection. When King Von joined the fold, the chemistry became electric. Von's storytelling and Durk's melodic pain created a sound that resonated far beyond Chicago. But success brought new dangers. The streets watched every move, and old scores refused to die. November 11th, 2020, shattered everything. King Von was gunned down outside a nightclub in Atlanta. The loss hit Durk like a sledgehammer. Von wasn't just an artist on his label, he was family. In the months that followed, grief turned into rage. The drill community fractured further along familiar gang lines. Quando Rondo, a rival whose circle had history with Von, became a focal point of that pain. Meanwhile, Jam continued serving his time, largely forgotten by the mainstream but remembered by those who mattered. His release in February 2022 came at a pivotal moment. Durk was at the peak of his commercial success. Laugh Now Cry Later with Drake had dominated the charts, and OTF was expanding. According to multiple street sources and insiders who have spoken publicly, Durk extended a hand to Jam immediately. Housing, money, transportation, and a visible position within the crew were reportedly provided. In the unforgiving math of street life after incarceration, this support represented more than charity. It was rebirth. For several months, Jam appeared solid. He moved with the OTF circle, posted on social media, and seemed to embody the second-chance narrative Durk often rapped about. But underneath the surface, old cases and new pressures were brewing. On August 11, 2022, in Los Angeles, a black SUV rolled up to a gas station near the Beverly Center. Quando Rondo and his cousin Xavier Robinson, known as Lul Pab, were inside a vehicle. Gunfire erupted. Quando survived. Lul Pab was killed. Federal investigators would later allege this was a calculated murder-for-hire orchestrated in retaliation for King Von's death. Prosecutors claimed Durk used his influence and resources to put the hit in motion, with several OTF affiliates acting as the ground team. The case remained under the radar for over 2 years as the FBI built its web. Jam's freedom, however, was fragile. He remained on parole with strict conditions. Street accounts, amplified by creators like Trenches News and Big Mike, claim that in May 2023 authorities moved on him. This time it wasn't about the Los Angeles incident. Jam was allegedly arrested in connection with an entirely separate murder investigation in Chicago. A different body, different circumstances, but equally serious. He was also accused of violating parole by traveling outside Illinois without proper authorization. When federal agents and U.S. Marshals closed in, they reportedly had significant leverage, evidence linking him to the new murder, plus the threat of returning him to prison for the rest of his life. At this crossroads, the story takes its darkest turn. Lil Ted, another alleged associate, had already begun speaking with authorities before his own violent death. According to the heavily discussed street narrative, information from Lil Ted helped point investigators toward Jam in that separate Chicago case. Faced with life behind bars versus the possibility of freedom, Jam allegedly made the decision that would redefine his legacy. He began cooperating with federal authorities. By the time Lil Durk was arrested in Miami in October 2024 on murder-for-hire charges, Jam's name had become poison in certain circles. Insiders claimed he had provided critical details that helped prosecutors expand their investigation. What started as a single targeted killing case allegedly grew into accusations that only the family functioned as a racketeering enterprise, coordinating violence, using music as both motivation and cover, and operating with the discipline of an organized crime family. In 2025 and early 2026, superseding indictments added racketeering charges and murder in aid of racketeering counts. Durk's legal team pushed back hard, calling the new charges a desperate pivot. But the damage to OTF's image was done. Jam largely vanished from public view. When he briefly resurfaced in 2026 under what appeared to be house arrest conditions, posting defiant messages and challenging his critics, the internet exploded once again. Old videos of Jam and Durk together resurfaced. Supporters of Durk labeled Jam a traitor who bit the hand that fed him after prison. Others argued no man should be expected to die in prison for crimes of loyalty. This wasn't simply one individual choosing self-preservation. It represented the collision of two worlds, the romanticized street code celebrated in drill music versus the cold reality of federal prosecution, where life sentences are leverage and loyalty is a liability. The hip-hop community has witnessed cooperators before, but rarely has the alleged snitch been someone so closely tied to an artist of Durk's stature and someone he personally helped rebuild. The timeline reveals a tragic pattern. From Von's murder in 2020, to the 2022 Los Angeles shooting, to Jam's 2023 arrest, to Durk's 2024 indictment, and the expanded racketeering case in 2026, each chapter tightened the noose. What began as street retaliation evolved into a federal takedown that threatens not just one man, but the entire mythology of only the family. As the trial date in August 2026 draws closer, the human cost becomes impossible to ignore. Families who lost loved ones in the cycle of violence wait for answers. Young fans who found hope in Durk's music now confront the darker machinery behind the art. And somewhere in the middle stands Jam, a man who survived 12 years in prison only to face the judgment of the streets he once called home. As the federal courthouse doors prepare to open in August 2026, the true weight of Jam's alleged cooperation is coming into focus. What began as a single murder-for-hire investigation has transformed into one of the most significant racketeering cases against a major hip-hop artist in years. And at the heart of the government strategy, according to widespread street intelligence and court-adjacent reporting, sits OTF Jam. Federal prosecutors have not publicly named Jam in the unsealed indictments. They rarely do with cooperators. Instead, he is referred to through initials and sealed witness statements. But the street narrative, amplified by insiders like Trenches News and Big Mike, is crystal clear. Jam became the government's #2 cooperator, second only to Lil Ted before his murder. His alleged statements reportedly provided investigators with critical insider details about the inner workings of only the family, how decisions were made, how money moved, and how violence was allegedly coordinated across state lines. The case centers on the August 11, 2022, killing of Xavier Robinson, known as Lil PAB. Prosecutors allege this was not random street violence, but a calculated hit ordered in retaliation for King Von's death. They claim Lil Durk used his platform, resources, and influence to orchestrate the murder from afar. When the initial indictment dropped in late 2024, it focused primarily on that Los Angeles incident. However, by early 2026, a superseding indictment dramatically expanded the scope. New charges included racketeering conspiracy, murder in aid of racketeering vicar, and accusations that only the family operated as a criminal enterprise responsible for multiple acts of violence spanning several years. This expansion is where Jam's alleged role becomes pivotal. Street sources claim his cooperation helped connect dots between different incidents, including the separate Chicago murder he himself was wanted for. Federal agents reportedly used that independent homicide case as leverage. They allegedly presented Jam with overwhelming evidence, witness testimony, ballistic links, and his parole violations for leaving Illinois without permission. Faced with returning to prison for decades or possibly life, Jam reportedly chose to talk. His information allegedly went far beyond one shooting. Prosecutors are said to have used his statements to build a broader picture. Text messages, phone records, music video imagery used as evidence of intent, and patterns of retaliation. One particularly damaging claim is that Jam confirmed details about the planning and execution of the Lil PAB hit, identifying key players and the chain of command. If true, this testimony could prove devastating in front of a jury. Durk's legal team has pushed back aggressively. They argue the government is overreaching, turning street conflicts into an organized crime case to secure a high-profile conviction. High-powered defense attorneys have questioned the reliability of cooperators who face life sentences themselves. They point out that federal cases often rely heavily on witnesses with strong incentives to lie or exaggerate. As of now, no plea deal has been offered to Durk, and his team appears prepared to take the case to trial. The human toll of this saga runs deep. Families who lost loved ones in the cycle of Chicago violence watch with complicated emotions. Some hope the case brings accountability. Others see it as another example of the system targeting black men who rose from the streets. For Durk's fans, the pain is personal. Many grew up listening to his music as a soundtrack for their own struggles. Songs about loyalty, loss, and survival now carry a bitter aftertaste. The man who once rapped about sticking together is now accused of building an empire that allegedly destroyed lives, including those closest to him. Jam's position is equally tragic. After surviving 12 brutal years in prison, he finally tasted freedom, only to be pulled back into the system. Whether viewed as a traitor or a survivor, his alleged choice has cost him everything the streets value: respect, brotherhood, and safety. Death threats continue to circulate. His brief reappearance on social media only intensified the hatred from Durk supporters. In the court of public opinion, Jam has already been sentenced. This story matters today because it exposes the fault lines running through modern hip-hop. Drill music took the raw reality of Chicago's streets and broadcast it to the world. It gave a voice to the voiceless, but it also commodified that pain. Artists like Lil Durk became millionaires by telling these stories, yet many remain trapped by the very world they escaped. The federal government's increased focus on rap lyrics as evidence, combined with aggressive use of racketeering laws, has created a chilling effect across the industry. For young black men in cities like Chicago, the message is sobering. No amount of success, money, or fame can fully shield you from your past. Loyalty, the sacred code celebrated in countless songs, can become a liability when federal agents come offering deals. The romanticized image of family in rap often collides with harsh reality when freedom is on the line. As the trial approaches, the hip-hop community stands at a crossroads. Some artists have begun distancing themselves from street affiliations. Others double down, using the case as fuel for new music. Social media remains a battlefield, with old clips of Durk and Jam together resurfacing daily. Every new filing, every leaked rumor, sends fresh shockwaves. Ultimately, this isn't just about one artist or one cooperator. It's about the cost of survival in an environment that offers few good choices. Lil Durk rose higher than most from his circumstances. Jam survived prison only to face perhaps the hardest decision of his life. Both men represent different sides of the same unforgiving reality, one that continues to claim lives long after the cameras stop rolling. The verdict, when it comes, will do more than decide Durk's fate. It will send a message about how America treats its most successful street narrators. It will force fans to reckon with the difference between the art and the streets that birthed it. And it will leave behind a complicated legacy for only the family, a movement built on loyalty that may ultimately be torn apart by the very system it once defied. As this chapter of the Only the Family saga continues to unfold in federal court, one thing remains certain: the full truth has yet to be revealed. The streets are still whispering, the documents are still being filed, and the consequences will echo far beyond any verdict. If this story touched you, if the weight of loyalty, betrayal, and survival hit different, then make your voice heard right now. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe Jam was left with no choice, or was this the ultimate act of betrayal? Could Durk have done anything differently to protect his circle? Let us know where you stand. Your perspective matters in this conversation. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. We go deep on the stories that mainstream media won't touch, raw, detailed, and unfiltered breakdowns of what's really happening in hip-hop and the streets. From court updates to street analysis, we bring you the timeline before the headlines catch up. Smash the like button if you want to see more documentary-style videos like this one. Every like helps push this story further and signals to us that you want this level of in-depth coverage. Share this video with someone who needs to see it. Whether it's a friend deep in the drill culture, a family member trying to understand the music their kids listen to, or anyone who respects real storytelling, spread the word. These conversations need to happen. Big thanks to everyone rocking with us. Special appreciation to the day ones who support the channel and keep us locked in on these complex cases. This isn't just content, it's a record of history happening in real time. Stay tuned. The trial is coming. New developments are dropping constantly. We will be here to break every single one of them down. The streets never forget. Neither do we. To understand how this story ends, make sure you're here when it does.